Hey, everybody, it's Ron Johnson, and this is the Ron Johnson Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota. I'm excited about today's show because we have to talk about J.J. McCarthy. He's not coming to training camp is what people think. We'll explain more about that. And Cat getting traded? For who? I don't know, but we'll talk about that and much more coming up next on the Ron Johnson Show.
Locked On Sports Minnesota podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. Now the Ron Johnson Show. On the field, in the broadcast booth, Ron Johnson is Minnesota sports. He's played with them, hung out with them, and grown up with all the big names in Minnesota sports. They're hanging out with Ron Johnson. It's the Ron Johnson Show on the Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast. And it starts now.
Hey, good people. It is Tuesday. It's windy in Minnesota and the weather is nice. I want to thank all the everydayers that continue to watch, listen, like, share, download. Tell a friend that we're here. We are growing, people. We are trying to up the subscribers on YouTube. Just make sure you go to YouTube. Just need an email address. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. But today's show, we got a lot going on. But before I get into that, I want everybody to know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Just make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bets. That's $200 in bonus bets. Who could not use $200? Come on, people. It's real simple with any winning $5 bet. Now, I gave you guys one before. I just said bet on the Celtics to win the series. That would have been your winning $5 bet. They are the champions. We'll talk about that in a little bit much more. And the Timberwolves' chances next year, because they gave some early odds to who's most likely in the West. They were just talking about the West. I don't know why, but that came up today of who's most likely, maybe because the Mavericks got absolutely whooped in a gentleman's sweep. But we'll talk about all that and much more coming up in the show. But make sure you visit FanDuel.com/locked on to get started. Well, like I said in today's show, I'm super excited to talk about this, people. We are not too far from football. Basketball season's over. Hockey's pretty much almost over. And it's almost time for some good football. But make sure you guys go to YouTube because throughout this offseason, we're going to have a lot of hot topics. Some good. We have Cam Bynum at some point is going to join us. We're going to get Grenard on there. And then we're going to get probably Kyrie Jackson or some of these rookies. And hopefully N'Keal Harry because we want to get some of these guys going into this offseason. But as I bring my producer to the show, Sam Ekstrom. Sam, it's kind of crazy out here in Vikings land, Sam. When you think about everything that the Minnesota Vikings have been through, all the Kirk Cousins stuff, all the trade talks, all the Kirk Cousins wants to be paid XYZ and Vikings fans, we shouldn't pay him coming off an Achilles injury, who knows? But talk about money, J.J. McCarthy might hold out because he wants $12.1 million guaranteed, right? Like not too long after signing, like when he signs his name. And I do understand that. He has a different money amount. Mine was like $300,000. So when I signed, I got a check probably 3 or 4 days later. Like I signed a contract. They had to get the owners to sign it. They had to get it approved by the league, blah, blah. I had to pass my physical. I had to make sure I wasn't on drugs. Boom. I was cleared. Everything's cleared. Next thing you know, in the mail, check for $300,000 plus some other stuff. But I got my check. I didn't care if it would have been like they say, hey, look, we'll give you 100 now, 100 later, 100, in whatever week 4. I'd have been like, okay, it's coming to me. But I do know who knows the lifestyle J.J. McCarthy wants to have, but he wants his 12 up front. Now, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, everybody's speculating that they're trying to do the same thing. They want their money up front. Trevor Lawrence, I think, was like one of the first ones to do it. But Sam, what are your thoughts on this? Because we're weeks away from training camp. He hasn't officially gotten any word yet. I don't know if he fired his agent because that's the story I haven't looked into, but his former agent is the one giving all this intel out about the contract and the verbiage and the guarantees, because they were saying, will the guarantees be offset, which means like, is there injury stuff in there? Is there you're not the week 1 starter stuff in there? Because he wants to make sure his guarantees aren't offset by like performance, meaning if he doesn't do what they thought he was going to do, we're not giving you $21.8 million. He wants it to be fully guaranteed, like RG3, like Andrew Luck. Those are some of the first fully guaranteed contracts. But he definitely, if he's not going to get fully guaranteed because you're not potentially our starter, I want my 12.1 now. I don't want to have to call JG Wentworth. I want it now. So if you think about that, Sam, what are your thoughts on him like not willing to wait a month or 2 or 3, whatever the time frame is to get that 12 million because it's guaranteed. Like your signing bonus is yours. So when you sign, whether you get 12 now, whether you get 6 now, 6 later, like, and it's not like a year or 2 years away. It's like they spread it out maybe over 2-3 months of the season. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it seems like something very simple that really shouldn't be a big deal to either side. It shouldn't be a big deal to McCarthy's group to wait a couple months, but it also shouldn't be a big deal for the Vikings if they're paying it anyway, just to pay it out right away. And I'm sure this is largely agent driven. I don't know if J.J. McCarthy, maybe he doesn't care that much, but maybe his agent said, "Hey, I can request that we get this money right away."
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I think JJ, he's engaged. Maybe he has some wedding down payments to get out there. Maybe he needs the money now. He's got to have a destination wedding. He's got to book the DJ. He's got to book the photographer, and he wants that money right away. If indeed it's happening around the league, it looks like Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Trevor Lawrence, Drake May is asking for it. Caleb Williams is asking for it. If that's the precedent, then why not? Why not have J.J. McCarthy ask for that as well? That makes sense to me. But the last thing, Ron, that the Vikings want or that J.J. McCarthy wants is to have any kind of holdout situation. That's just a bad look. That's a bad look for everybody. So at some point, someone's going to cave before July 25th or whatever it is, and they'll get this done. I'm pretty confident there's not going to be a real holdout. This is just a little bit of posturing in the media now that you've got, 5 weeks until training camp. I think it gets done.
And the thing about the money, I understand this. So when you look at lump sum payments, if you think about people that win the lottery, by the lottery holding on to the money and they don't have to pay this person out, they're gaining interest on the money they're not paying out.
Yep.
So if you were to do so, I mean, like there's bonds that are high as 10% rebate interest that he can get. Now those you can't touch as quickly and easily, but you can take your money, put it in a bond, put in some type of, like, you can put it in gold, you can put it, whatever, you can put it in the market, and then you can gain 10% on that bond. Now I don't know how much you would put in there, like maybe it's just $1 million, but if you were to take that 12.1, if you're the Minnesota Vikings and you're holding it in a 3%, account, which is really small, 3%, some kind of money market, they would get $363,000 in interest on a 3%. That's so if I'm JJ, his agent, he's like, look, let us get the money now so we can invest it. We want to go get, and again, now he's not going to get that amount after taxes because there is taxes. So let's just call it 50%. If he gets his $6 million and he puts it in, that's $180,000 that he puts into an account. He can put into his bank right now, $6 million after tax. And that I'm really killing him. 49% is it's probably more 39%. He's not gonna be in the 50% range, but I just always say 50. And then that way, okay, I get 10% back when I do my taxes. But if he gets $6 million, knowing, okay, I get 10%, that $1 million, $1.5 million comes back to you in taxes. I mean, there's a lot he can do there. And so I get that part of it, the money part of it. Because I don't think, and I think we have to equate the money to business and not make it about field. The only field part, and then this report, because there was a guy, Pretty Ricky, that tweeted this, and that's, they were joking, like, I can't believe we're listening to the guy named Pretty Ricky, but the same Pretty Ricky guy was the guy that broke the news about Odell Beckham. He was the guy that broke the news about Tyler Boyd. He was the guy that broke the news about Justin Jefferson's mega deal. He was the guy that broke the news about Trevor Lawrence's. So he knows somebody. Pretty Ricky knows somebody, Sam. I don't know who he knows. Pretty Ricky is what they call him. But he knows somebody that is giving him some of this inside information. I don't know if it's an agent. I don't know if it's a team or a guy within a team or somebody at the NFL office, but he knows somebody because he's been accurate 4 times. But he was able to do all of this. Now, Trevor Lawrence, he started the trend in 2021, receiving his entirety of his $24.1 million signing bonus within 15 days of signing his contract. Zach Wilson and Trey Lance were the next 2 taken in 21 draft, also received their signing bonuses in lump sum payments. So they got the lump sum payments. Trevor Lawrence got the upfront money. They got the lump sum. He got the payment right away. So you can take the lump sum and you can say, I want it all right now, or you can say, I want it spread out. They then switch theirs in a similar deal, basically what they're saying. They're saying now Caleb Williams, Jane Downs, and Drake May are going to try to do the same thing. They want it all up front. because you can take multiple lump sum payments and they can spread out that, call it 4 million, 4 million, 4 million, 4 million. What that does for the Vikings is, one, there's no like additional tax. Also, though, if I'm Drake May, if I'm J.J. McCarthy, I'm trying to figure out what's the benefit of getting 4 in a payment and 12. Like, did the tax go up? Is there a different tax break I can get? Is there a luxury tax the Vikings are getting hit with? Like, there's something to this that teams don't want to do, because if you're paying it out anyway, my guess is because I'm holding on to $9 million and I get to gain interest on that 9, then I can pay you out 4 more. Then I'm still gaining interest on that 6. Then I could pay you out 3 more. Then I'm still gaining interest on that 3. Then here's your last 3.1 million, and we're done. You can come up with all kinds of things. This is the thing why negotiation agents are hired, because you can say, okay, he wants it's 12. He can say, I want 6 now, and then I want 3 and 3. That could be an option. Or like you said, he's getting married. He's like, I want it all right now. But Sam, do you think that is because coaches can always say this, because we've heard Kevin O'Connell say this about TJ Hawkinson. We've heard coaches say this about Kirk Cousins when he wanted his deal. I'm trying to think who else held out. Daniil Hunter, when he wasn't around, when he wanted his deal. Stephon Diggs, his ended up being a trade. But when you think about coaches trying to say, like, I don't take it out on the player, I don't hold it, it's not me, it's the player and their agent with the team. I'm just an employee of the team. Do you think there's any validity to that when it's somebody that works this close with the head coach, because he is the quarterback, that he could potentially slow down any progress they might have for training camp?
The precedent that's been set with this coaching staff is that they're going to be very player friendly. So they're going to give them a really long leash to negotiate their stuff, and they're going to protect them. Like, I could see the old Mike Zimmer press conferences. If there was a guy holding out, if TJ Hawkinson had an ear infection, we would know exactly how Mike Zimmer felt about that. And there would be some pettiness. With this coaching staff, even though they might be lying right to our face, they are going to protect the player and not throw that player under the bus. So if this holdout, if maybe it won't be a holdout, Ron, maybe it'll be what we're calling a hold in now, the hold in, where the player is in the building, where they're on the field, but they're not doing any practicing. And the Vikings,
like Hawkinson, right? Hawkinson was a hold in.
Hawkinson was a hold in, right?
Yeah.
He was always there. He just wasn't doing anything, because
he would warm up and then he had to go inside.
His back, his foot. Yeah. So I don't think it's going to get contentious. I don't think that O'Connell's going to be too worked up about it. I think O'Connell would probably say, hey, front office, just pay him the money up front. I want this guy on the field. That's probably where he would stand.
Yeah, because I think the hold in is really important. Because, and now looking back on guys I played with that did hold ins, because I was young, I didn't really understand. But Chris McAllister was the cornerback for the Ravens at the time, and they franchised him twice. Now, at the time, we were all like, dude, they're offering you $12 million guaranteed this year. And then they did it again, and they had to double it and pay him $24 million. And because he was getting the average salary, and back then he was in a really good market of corners. Now, he was one of the top corners, but he had Champ Bailey. He had Charles Woodson. So he had some big time numbers of the top 5 corners that was able to help his franchise tag. Or maybe it was like 10 and 20 or something. But I remember it was high. I remember like doing the math, and it felt like it was like 30 something million over 2 years. And what he would do is he knew the rules. So he would show up for practice, and then he would go sit in his locker, and he wouldn't practice. He would show up for meetings. He would eat breakfast. And he'd go sit in his locker, and he would be like, I'm here. I'm not going outside. Like, my shoes, I can't find my shoe. He would like say all this dumb stuff. I can't find my shoes, so I'm not going outside barefoot. Or I can't find my jersey. Anybody see my jersey? And I mean, and they would laugh, like, because he would literally, his jersey would be like hidden on the ground, like, but he was just like, I can't find my jersey. And coaches weren't allowed to come in and tell him to practice or force him to practice, because he was franchised. And it was a hold in. And then, of course, the next year they ended up giving him, I think the next year they negotiated like mid training camp and got him out of the deal and gave him a contract. But, a lot of guys want that guaranteed money right away, so they have some security. So they have some financial security. So they feel like, okay, I got the money. But also from his marketing guy, maybe he's like, look, let's go invest this money. Like, why let them keep it? Like, give it to us. Let us go invest it so we can get that 3% or 2% or 1%. Because at the lowest, you get 1%. Like, at the and when you're talking that, and that's the thing, some people are like, oh, 1% is nothing. Like, why would you care about that? Like, when you're dealing with his type of money, 1% is a big deal. 1% of 6 million is 60 grand. So if I'm going to get 6 million after taxes, which it probably gets more than that, you're looking at 60 grand at like as soon as I put in the account here, boom, after about a month of 1%, there you go. 60 grand, 2 months, 120 grand. You know what I mean? And then you keep doing that math. And now you're at 180. By the end of the year, you multiply that by 12, 720,000. He almost made $1 million in interest off 1%. And we all get 1%. Our just 1% doesn't grow as much as his. And that's the difference. Some are less than 1%. We know that. Like, depends on what type of account you're in. But when you have money like that, your 1% is not a gamble. You know, and so that's why I'm like, I understand it. Why not get? I want that $720,000 in the year. Because if he gets, let's call it 1.1, if he gets 8, he can easily put 6 into an account and not touch it. I would hope his wedding is not going to be more than $100,000. I would hope maybe 125. Like, why would you need a $500,000 or $1 million wedding? Like, don't do that. Don't Kanye and Kim Kardashian it, because it doesn't last. Like, you put too much emphasis on the wedding. You know, it doesn't last. All these Hollywood weddings we've seen, none of them last. If he's smart, he would do what Eric Decker did, is to get a TV company to pay for your wedding and have it on TV. That's why Decker's still married, because he was smart enough to not pay for a wedding. And he had, I think he did it on like the E network or something. And
genius.
Jesse and Decker get married. And yeah, it was all on TV, all paid for by the TV. And he didn't have to pay for nothing. He didn't pay for the gifts. He didn't pay for the guests. He didn't pay for the food, because they did the wedding and they were like, we'll put it on TV. Okay,
can
we'll pay for everything.
Can VEN cover it? And we'll get Gabe can officiate. We can get.
I could be one of the. I could be a ring bearer, or no, I could be the usher. I'd be an usher. I just open the doors, let people in. I don't know. I don't know if the Vikings ownership would want to pay for that wedding.
Good content.
Great content. Like, you would host the J.J. McCarthy wedding on the VN network, all on YouTube, streaming live. You might get a lot of people. But the thing is, though, like the guests, like, because Harbaugh would show up, so that's a good one. I'm guessing IMG, some of his people from there. You might have some big time. Who did he play with? Roman Wilson, Blake Corum. The question would be, like, who does he know that would be a big time, guest to be able to be like, okay, yeah, this is good. I'm guessing Harbaugh, like having Harbaugh and Kevin O'Connell at the same wedding. Like, that could be the actual TV drama that we're looking for.
Stick him at a table and just watch them shoot daggers at each other. Watch,
and Harbaugh shows up in a full khaki suit, like his jacket is khaki and his pants, like a full khaki suit. Yeah, that would.
Harbaugh can do a scripture reading. We'll let him do a reading
and get Belichick randomly just to show up, just to be like, hey, Bill, we just want you here. Like, Bill's been going to roast. He's going to the Brady retirement. Like, just get it all there. But I mean, with that said, Sam, we got to move on to the next topic, because we got to talk about this trade. I know I teased it about the trade. But again, at the end of the day, with this J.J. McCarthy, just put a bow in it. J.J. McCarthy wants his money, and he doesn't want to have to call J.J. Wentworth. He wants it now. He doesn't want it in payments. This trend has been set by Trevor Lawrence. Other guys have done it. Like I said, the RG3 and the fully guaranteed contracts, those aren't on the table right now. So I think that's the other part, because the two-parter was money up front, signing bonus, but also whether the performance would offset anything within the contract. Because that's the key, is he knows at this point right now he's heading into training camp as QB3. So is there any verbiage hidden by the Vikings saying, if you're not the backup, we don't have to pay you this, because we're not paying the third-string quarterback, let's call it $4 or $5 million, and that's where I think the other part is, like, they don't want any of that in the contract. Because who's the one? Kyler Murray, because he didn't know the video game thing was in his contract until after everybody reported it, which is funny that he signed it without realizing that. So that's what I think now, that like that's why these contracts are having to be double checked and triple checked, because what did they hide in there that we didn't see? Like, nobody noticed the video game thing, and he probably looked at it like, whatever. And then it got out to the media, because Adam Schefter probably got the verbiage, and everybody's like, and he's like, all right, that's stupid. I didn't know y'all did that to me. Take it out. Take it out. And then they like, we remove the video game clause that, he can play Fortnite as long as he wants. If your coaches are saying you watch Fortnite more than you watch the playbook, there's a problem. Like, there's a problem. I would have left that in the contract just to say, like, I'm dedicated to this team. Like, I'm dedicated. But we don't know what's in JJ's contract. There's all kinds of verbiage in there, but they don't want any offsets based off performance or based off where he's in the depth chart or where he's at week 1, and they want the money up front. That's the bottom line. Could be a hold in. But I'm pretty sure you're right, Sam. I think Kevin O'Connell is going to go tell them, yeah, let's get this done. But we'll talk about that later this week because I know we got a lot more coming up on Locked On Sports this week with the football party. We got the round table as well on Friday. But we'll talk about Cat and who I think is a good trade and what really could work for the Timberwolves to get to that next level, maybe make it to an NBA Finals. We'll talk about that much more after word from our sponsors.
Today's show brought to you by FanDuel. Summertime means baseball. And while the NBA Finals are done as well, you can bet basketball for next season. Timberwolves are the third likeliest team to win the NBA Finals next year. Celtics are favored to repeat, then the Nuggets at plus 750, and then your Timberwolves at plus 850 to win the NBA Finals. That's a pretty juicy number. You can get that right now at FanDuel, or you could bet any of the 30 teams in the NBA. You could bet the Raptors at plus 100,000. Try it. See what happens. Lots of good promotions at FanDuel, including new customers getting $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200. They've upped that from $150. $200 to bet on everything from the NBA futures, baseball bets, the Twins are red hot, and the WNBA. FanDuel.com/lockedon, FanDuel.com/lockedon. Add a big win to your summer bucket list. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
Well, Sam, we've talked about on the basketball party a ton. If you could trade some people in this team, and I think the crew all kind of went back and forth. We talked about who would we trade? Who would we want to get rid of? Who would we keep? Would you trade Cat? Well, what's out there? We talked about what's out there with the trades. But here, I'm not going to tell you the player, Sam. I'm going to just tell you the numbers.
Okay.
Cat has a 4-year, $221 million deal. This player that I'm talking about has a 4-year, $112 million deal. So we're talking about half. Cat, 2024 next year, $49 million basically cap hit. 49 in 2024-25 is his cash, his cap hit. The player I'm talking about is at $24 million. And then the next year, so that person gets $27 million cash, but his cap hit is only 24. So half of the cap hit. His cash is more, but his cap hit is less, Sam. Almost basically half, less than half, 24. So you're going to get half of the money taken away off your salary, which you can give to other players. You can maybe sign another player to come join this player. Now you're looking at the stats. Points per game this season. This season. NBA regular season stats. Points per game. 19.1 for the player I'm talking about, 22.9 for Cat. Rebounds, 9.4 for the player I'm talking about, 10.8. Assists, 3.7 for the player I'm talking about, 3.2 for Cat. So he's got him edge there in assists. Pass more to Anthony Edwards. Steals per game, they're even. Blocks per game, they're even. Total points in their career. Now, this player has played 10 years. Cat's only played 9. Cat has him by basically 1,000 points. Rebounds, Cat has him by 200 with a year less. Total assists, though, he's got Cat by 500 assists. I don't think Cat's going to get 500 assists next season, so I don't think that's going to matter. Total steals, they're pretty even. But again, Cat has a year less than him. Total blocks, that's where it gets very, very drastic. 268 to 720. Cat has 721 blocks. I did not know that. And then total game, 641 to 573. Again, this person has a year on Cat. So that tracks is about 70 games more. So that's about a year more. So both fairly, injuries, played about the same amount of game. Field goal percentage, Cat has him on the edge. 3-point percentage. Now this is where probably 3-point percentage. Cat's almost 40% for his 3-point percentage. 0.398. This person 3.333. Hearing those metrics, Sam. Now, if you were to trade this person for Cat straight up with a first-round pick from that team, would you make that trade?
So the Wolves are getting
player.
The Wolves are getting a first-round pick and the player. You're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's compelling, especially with that money aspect. Now, there are some rules in the NBA. Sometimes, if you're trading so much salary, they require you to take back close to that amount of salary. Not exactly, but
right.
So that this other team might have to throw in some other contract to even it up, but
Yep.
I'm intrigued by getting out from the 4 years of Cat's money. I would consider that. If you're getting a 1, also, I would consider that in a heartbeat. Now, who's the player you're talking about?
So here's the thing: their best points per game they give them the best seasons. No game minimums on this. Here's their best seasons. This person's best season was 2023, 25.1 points per game. Cat's best season was 2020, 26.5 points a game. And I don't know if they count 2024 in this thing I'm looking up. Because I don't see anything listed for 2024.
Yeah.
But it just say best season. And did Cat have more than 26 points a season? Or was he under 26 points?
No, he was probably closer to 20 this
So maybe they do count 2024. So when you look at that, their best seasons are pretty close. Rebounds per season, 10 to 12. Assists per season, 6 to 4. Edged by the person. The person is Julius Randle. The team is the New York Knickerbockers. Julius Randle is 6'8", 250 pounds. So he's an attitude guy. He's a guy willing to fight. He's a guy willing to mix it up with the bigs. He's an enforcer, willing to deal with the guys that don't want to, like you do something to my guy, I'm going to do something to your guy. That's what the Timberwolves don't have. They don't have an enforcer. They don't have a body that just moves bodies and is willing to do the dirty work and give them the boards. Now, is he blocking guys like Cat? No, because he's not 7 feet tall. He doesn't that's not what he does. He plays more like power post guy, power forwards, threes up top, but more of a power forward. When you look at all the things, blocks per game, steals per game, all that, they're pretty much even. The big difference is the money. And if Anthony Edwards feels like, you know what, Cat takes a lot of balls from me, like we work great together, but he takes a lot of balls from me because he's taking a lot of ill-advised shots. Julius Randle is a better ball handler. He's a better finisher. He's a guy that doesn't whine to the refs. Like his biggest issue has been actually, and he's gotten better, was some of the like pushing and shoving and the extracurriculars. You haven't seen much of that in his older age. That was the younger Julius Randle that people consider was a bully. But you need a bully sometimes. You need a guy that can do that. Like you need a guy that's going to get in there and kind of mix it up. And so when looking at these two, the first round pick, and this is where I go to the first round pick, you could package that with your first round pick and move up into the draft. 2 first rounds. Now you can say, hey, I want the 3, or we want the 2. Like if somebody doesn't want the 1 or the 2 or the 3, let us take it. You can have our whatever, because they're going to have like 30, 28th or whatever, 27, 28th. And then that person, the Knicks would have 20. I don't know, whatever. Package them. You can defer them as well. You can always defer the pick. You can say, I don't want your 2025. Give me your 2026. Or I don't want your 2024. Give me your 2025 or give me your 2026. Like you can always defer within that. Like, hey, let's do it this, or like potential first round pick, but then they have the ability to get out of it if they don't want it. Because I just saw that happen. Somebody else just said, you can pick for us this year. We'll pick next year. So there's a lot of leeway to that. Because this year, I don't know if there's a guy you're willing to jump out there and say, we need you in the first round. Right. But next year, who knows? Next year, there could be a guy to say, like, and this is the question though, Sam, with that first round pick, what would you say the Timberwolves would need then? Like, would they need a bigger power forward type guy to be with Rudy or another shooter to go with Anthony Edwards?
Always need shooting. I think they need probably ball handlers.
Point
but
guard,
also,
true. Yep.
Yeah. Because, Conley's not going to be around forever. But I have thought too that they need, after watching the Mavs series, they need like a sure-handed, kind of like vertical rim protector type, like a Derek Lively or a Daniel Gafford, somebody, because the Wolves bigs, Rudy's not an offensive threat. Cat lives on the perimeter. Nas kind of operates off the bounce. They don't really have a big that can operate from the block that well. So I think that's a need too. But the thing with a late pick, it'd probably be a later pick for the Wolves. You're probably going to get like an older guy, someone who played 5 years of college, 6 years of college with the COVID years, someone who's kind of ready physically to contribute right away. That's what I would want. Someone who's just a glue guy who can give you 12 hard minutes a game. That's what I would be looking for.
Yeah, because Julius Randle, both went to Kentucky. So you're trading, Kentucky blue blood for Kentucky blue blood. Again, 10 and 9 years. Pretty, like, Cat's been hurt. Julius Randle's had his injuries in the past. So they both are about the same, like, tread on the tires. Both were first round. I think Cat was number 1 overall. Julius Randle was top 7, top 10. He was 7th pick. you're kind of, I mean, you're getting a similar guy. Like, I just think, and Julius Randle can shoot. Like, he can shoot the three when he has to. If he's wide open, he's going to knock it down. I feel like he doesn't take as many ill-advised shots sometimes is what a cat would do. But it's not 24. Sorry, it's 28. His cap hit is 28.9. His cash is 27.5. So you're right. So they would have to fill in maybe some of that cash that they're unloading with Cat. But I mean, if you look at the Knicks, I'm pretty sure the way they played this year, you could find a guy that the Knicks would be willing to move that you don't have to either keep or you can keep. And you're like, hey, I want your backup point guard. Maybe that's what you get. You get Julius Randle and their backup point guard and see what you can get out of that. Like there's always ways to make it work. If they feel like if the Knicks feel like Cat gets them over the hump with Hart, Brunson, and Cat over Randle, I mean, maybe that's the three that they need. They needed a guy that can stretch the floor a little bit more than Julius Randle does. And the Timberwolves they have Naz Reid. So they don't need another shooter. They had Naz Reid and Jaden McDaniels. So I don't know. I like it.
You know what this feels like to me? The 2018 Raptors won 59 games and they won the East. They were number one in the East. They lost in the second round that year. So their GM said, we're not going to run it back. We were number one in the East. We still need to mix it up. So what'd they do? They traded DeMar DeRozan. They got Kawhi Leonard. And they took a big gamble and they won the title. And remember, Leonard had a weird year with the Spurs. He was like hurt all year. They were upset with him. And the Raptors took a big swing and they said, we're going to swap a good piece in DeRozan and bring in another really good piece in Leonard. And they won the title because they weren't afraid to mix it up. I think that's what a Cat for Randle trade would do. It would shuffle the deck. It would give you a different type of player, maybe someone who can pick and roll with Anthony Edwards a little bit better. Maybe he stays a little healthier. He actually has played over the last 5 years, Ron. Randle's played 80 more games than Cat. That's a full season's worth of games than Cat. Cat's played 250. Randle's played 330. Cat actually sneaky injury prone with all the injuries that have piled up the last 5 years.
That's another good one there. I didn't think about that because I forgot about the hand, or what was it? The hand or wrist, or what was it?
Yeah, he's had the last 2 years have been lower body, like leg injuries, but you're right. I think he played 35 games in 2019. That might have been hand or arm. He missed 32 games the next year. I can't remember what happened then. That was a COVID year.
This past year, was it the leg? Is that what it was? Not this year, but the year before.
Yeah, that was a calf. That was a calf.
Yep,
bad calf injury. Yeah,
because I remember him in the green like jean outfit. That's all I remember, because he was wearing bright outfits like every game for a while until he was back. But yeah, I mean, I like it. I like the trade. I like the idea of it. I mean, at this point, like, you could either run it back and see if you can get it done. I know Tim Connelly has feelings on that when you look at how he built the Denver Nuggets. He only signed a 1-year deal. I think they're still waiting for the arbitration with their, ownership group. But I would do it. I wouldn't be opposed to doing it. But I mean, I think we can talk about this on a basketball party at some point. I'm pretty sure it's going to come up as well. That definitely is a good topic to bring up. I know Jack knows the numbers and knows the luxury tax and all that stuff that might be hit with it. And could this trade work? But this sounds like, and again, I'm big on like, well, dang, I saw Julius Randle on TV last night. So all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute. Is this the basketball world telling the Minnesota fans, hey, might be worth it? You get a guy that the NBA TV crew likes and the ESPN crew likes, because I don't think they like Cat. Like, they don't like Cat. They like Julius Randle. They think they love his aggressiveness. They all talk about how Cat's soft. So then maybe we get more national coverage if we add Julius Randle. I don't know. But him leaving New York, though, for him too, I mean, he has a lot of exposure in New York compared to Minnesota. But hey, if you win, you get more exposure anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm Ron Johnson, Sam Ekstrom. We are going to come back with the Daily 3. That's 3 questions, 3 minutes each. But before we do that, we have a short break. But before we do that, we want you guys to know SiriusXM is a proud partner of Locked On Sports Minnesota. Just go to the SiriusXM app and download it. Just search SXM on any app market. You can get all of the shows, but you have to search Locked On Sports Minnesota. But then from right there, you can get our show. So if you're out at training camp and you want to catch an episode and be like, what were they talking about, J.J. McCarthy? Just download the SXM app. And then when you have that app, you can sit there and watch our shows. Also, if you're just sitting out there waiting for the next practice and you want to catch a roundtable live Friday morning, you're sitting out there, just go on YouTube, check us out live. And then right from there, then training camp starts a couple hours later. But you can be out in Eagan, get some live Locked On Sports Minnesota coverage before training camp starts. YouTube, SXM, 2 options to watch Locked On Sports Minnesota. And that's easy for you guys to do. But coming up next, like I said, we got the Daily 3. That's 3 questions, 3 minutes each. Sam, it's your show.
All right, Ron, question number 1. It's the Vikings question of the day. We're going to do a lot of these during this month before training camp. My question for you today, what are your expectations for Dallas Turner, the other first-round pick?
Well, watching them at practice, I know we're not supposed to, so I'm not going to give stuff away because I know that was very in the press release to us coming out to practice. Don't talk about specifics. Don't talk about where we're lining guys up, the cool packages you're seeing. That's what I'll say. There's some cool packages, Sam. Dallas Turner, like when he was over there because he's I gotta make sure I don't say it the wrong way. Let me say it the right way. He was practicing with different groups. He was with one group warming up, and then another group, like, yo, get over here. And he runs across the field to the other group, and he starts working with this group. Well, what I saw in that is that this guy's going to be a Swiss Army knife. They're going to have him doing this with this group, and he's going to be doing that with this group. And when I saw him go with that next group, the places they put him within the formations, the things they had him trying to do, and he's learning. Like, he didn't do this at Alabama, but I'm pretty sure like that was one of the reasons why, because I think everybody was trying to figure out why Kwesi was so like excited. I'm guessing Brian Flores probably gave, because the GMs don't pick. The GMs take the knowledge of their scouts. You don't have a scouting department and a head of scouting if you don't take their advice and you don't they don't give you a big board of who you want. You can tell them what you need, and then they go tell you the guy they want. And so Dallas Turner was high up on their board for the defensive guy, for a rush guy. And when they failed to him because of all the other stuff that had happened, quarterbacks and Michael Penix and so on and so forth, that's why Kwesi was like, we're getting him. We got our guy. And that's why Kevin O'Connell was like, what? How did we get Dallas Turner? Like, wait, he's not going to the Eagles? Like, what? Like, they couldn't believe it because Hassan Reddick, if you guys have been reading, is not fully happy with the Eagles. There's rumors that he might be trying to get out of there. So with all that said, I think Dallas Turner's expectations are he's going to be a rookie. He's not going to start out right away, but he's definitely going to be in a lot of packages when you think about how to get after the quarterback. Brian Flores is a mastermind at getting after the quarterback, and I think that's what we're going to see. But my expectation, if I put a number on it, my expectation for him, if I'm going to rank it, like 1 is, doesn't really matter what he does this season. 10 is they need him. I'm going to give him a 7.5. I think my expectations are very high. Like he's going to be very integral. He's going to be like an Ivan Pace type of guy. Ivan Pace came out of nowhere and we didn't know how much we needed him. I think Dallas Turner comes in with that same, like, okay, we need him, but how much? I think we need him just like we need Ivan Pace. We need a difference maker, and Dallas Turner's that guy. Dallas
Turner favored on FanDuel to be the defensive rookie of the year. That's pretty cool. Plus 430.
Well, I'll say the way they're using them, I can't wait to like preseason or maybe week 1 when we can start diving into like, because you think about Josh Metellus, I think he's going to use him similar. Like it's going to be a similar type of like Josh Metellus and Dallas Turner are going to have like Dallas Turner lined up at 7 different spots this week. You know, he's going to be a guy like that, and so I could see that being easily because when you do the numbers of like he was lined up here, he did this, he did that, he did this, he did that. That's easy way to become defensive rookie of the year.
Question number 2, NBA Finals are done. Celtics win their 18th title. The team that beat the Wolves in 5 loses in 5 as the Mavericks go down. Your reaction to game 5 of the finals run?
Boring. It was boring. It was like, I mean, seriously, I stopped watching, like, I think by third quarter, I was like, all right, I'm kind of over this. Because, like, all of us were in the living room watching it. My in-laws are here till Wednesday. And so we were all watching last night. And I think around the third quarter, my wife went upstairs. I'm like, all right, this is all I need to see. I don't need to see the confetti come down. I don't need to see Jason Tatum say anything is possible. Like, it was boring. I will say congrats to the Celtics. They got their 18th championship. It sucks that the Timberwolves, and then so I started listening. I listened to the announcers more and the analysts, because they were bringing that up. Like, could the Timberwolves have done better than this? I think so. I do.
Yeah.
When you look at the matchups of how they could have matched up, like Porzingis spread out lively, whereas the Timberwolves have a guy that can move out there and handle that space. That leaves, what's his name, like Al Horford, again, a spread out the floor guy. The Timberwolves have another guy for him. The Mavs just didn't have enough guys to cover the perimeter the way the Celtics spread you out, whereas the Timberwolves could have gotten Rudy off the floor for a little bit of the stretches and had just Cat with Nas, McDaniels, Ant, and Mike Conley. And now you have 5 guys that can all spread out. I think that would have been the way to go. Cat's on Porzingis, which was a more favorable matchup for Cat. He's not stronger than Cat, but Cat doesn't mind being up top. Or Nas Reed could have went on Porzingis. Cat could have went on Al Horford, who doesn't move as fast, who doesn't drive and dribble as quick, so he's not going to get in Cat's way. I think the Timberwolves matched up better, but that's just me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they matched up well in the regular season. Who's to say they couldn't have matched up well in the finals? But how about the Celtics record for the regular season and playoffs? 80-21. So they basically played 800 basketball this year. That's just a pretty good all-around team.
It's crazy.
And I think they get the same group back next year, so they're going to be good again. Last one.
Oh, here, I got a question for you, though.
Yeah.
Omaha. Little quick changer for you. Just real quick. I heard this question. Maybe we should do this. If you had to pick somebody's career and earnings, would you rather be Reggie Miller or Al Horford?
Well, what's inflation doing? Because I'm sure Miller made way less.
Reggie made a little over 100 million. Al Horford has made close to $240 million.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah. Well,
and Reggie never won a ring, but he won a gold medal. Al Horford, is this Al Horford's first or second ring?
First ring.
First ring, and he was a national champion, I think, too, with Florida, if I'm not mistaken.
He maybe even twice at Florida, because they went back to back. Reggie has the Hall of Fame,
and he's top 75.
He's a legend in his city. I don't think Horford is going to be a legend in any one city. He's kind of a journeyman. But man, he made a lot of dough in a long career. It's pretty good.
And he's still playing.
Pretty good.
Just think about that one. That might be something to bring up tomorrow on a basketball party.
That's a fun question. Last one, speaking of basketball, Charles Barkley announced that he's retiring after next year because of looks like TNT is going to lose the rights. He doesn't want to go somewhere else. So he's calling it quits. What do you think about Barkley's impact on TV these last 25 years?
He showed people they could be themselves. He showed people you don't have to be a cookie cutter, corporate guy, shirt and tie, no fun. I remember meeting him with my daughter. And the only reason I remember because it's a video of my daughter telling him and Shaq that she's 4, but she was saying 4. And he was like 5, and she's like 4. And he's like 3, and she's like 4. And then like Barkley grabbed her ear and said, "I have your ear." And she, she's like trying to touch her ear, like, "No, you don't," So I remember that, but I remember just meeting Barkley, and then I've watched him on TV, and he's shown me that I can have fun and be me when I'm doing the Vikings game day, or I'm doing a show for the Vikings or whatever, or the Gophers. Like, I don't feel like I need to sit there and just read stats and just be like, I can't, like, I make Kanye jokes. I make Kim Kardashian jokes. I'll talk about Sierra and Russell Wilson and Lil Bow Wow. Like, I'm bringing up I'm having fun. And Shaq probably helps Charles do that, but Charles is that guy. He's going to have fun. He's going to say whatever. So I think his impact on TV is huge. Him walking away, he's going to have a bunch of suitors begging him to come out of retirement, but he's probably made enough money that he doesn't care. He doesn't have to. He can do what he wants to do. So who knows? Yeah,
I think it's strange that more networks haven't figured it out. Like, that show is all about authenticity. It gives the hosts kind of room to cook. They're not really bound by time as much. Other shows, like when they've got these 6-person panels, it's bang, 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 bang. You comment, you comment, you comment. It's very packaged. And inside the NBA just has this very organic feel to it, where guys are joking, they're laughing. There's not really a script, and they've nailed it. and I'll be sad if it's gone because they've totally changed the game for like sports analysis. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, that'll do it for us today. Make sure you guys check out Locked On Sports, like I said, on YouTube, and make sure you find Locked On Sports 24/7 on that YouTube live stream for your favorite Minnesota sports shows around the clock. Is Vikings, Wild, Wolves, Twins, Gophers, Lynx, all hours of the day. Yes, Lynx. We are going to talk about Lynx coming up on Locked On Sports Minnesota as they make a push to the playoffs. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese getting them fights. I mean, we got to talk about all the stuff going on in the league. Is Caitlin Clark being targeted? Is Angel Reese a bully? Is there some kind of secret code that Angel Reese just is like getting bought into because Caitlin Clark's getting beat up and she's not as much anymore? We'll talk about all that though, but make sure you guys check it out on Locked On Sports Minnesota, again on YouTube, the 24/7 live stream. I'm Ron Johnson at Sam Ekstrom. Have a great week, people.